this.
God, I could have slept in. No, just kidding.
Extra 3 minutes.
You know how you wake up early because your alarm's gonna go off and you just, oh, that's the worst.
That's the worst.
So I set the dang thing.
I catch mine every day before it goes on.
Okay, we're live.
Okay, all right, ready to call the meeting to order then? Okay, all right, well, good morning, everyone, and we're gonna call the water committee meeting to get to order on Wednesday, August 14th, 2024 at 8 a.m. Melissa, if you will, I'll just go ahead and read the first item, okay? All right, consider district participation in the water main extension to serve 9 parcels in the community of Jamestown. I guess that's Daly Court. All right,
Okay, I'm gonna share screen here and I'm gonna say this is really Antonio's item. He's not feeling well today, so I'm gonna fill in for him and he prepared the staff report for you guys. In essence, Daly Court is located, if you can see my cursor, this is Daly Court right here. And this is the current Rawhide Bridge. And this is Highway 108 and the whistle stop is right here. So I think we all know where Rawhide Bridge is. I just wanted you to know where Daly Court is. Currently, Daly Court, the customers here are fed from a bank of meters located on the bridge.
And what a thing of beauty they are.
Isn't it? It's a rat's nest. When there's a problem, like some of these service laterals go over 1,000 feet. So if there's a problem, well, Matt, why don't you're better explain the problem.
So a couple things with the meter location is that, and I think there's a picture of the meter location.
Let me do that.
In addition to the lengthy service lateral from the meter to the home that has had, significant calls to us to go repair, even though it's not ours. So we go out there, sorry, it's yours, but it costs money to go out there, shut off the meter, tell the customer with billing after hour calls. But the location themselves, they're in a spot where it's a safety concern. The meters are hard to maintain and turn on and off without heavy traffic from the Rawhide Bridge. So that is the main concern for my guys, as you can see right there. And because they're in a low area, they constantly fill with sediment. So they're out there on their hands and knees digging those things out to try to turn them off for the customer. So it's a safety concern. And there's been multiple boxes that have been broken from cars driving over the top of them. They're just in a horrible location. So you can see the spaghetti noodles going across the bridge right there. Those are all customer side service laterals. And we've had, again, a significant amount of calls, after hour calls and normal day calls where we go out there. A customer or passerby drives by and says, oh, you got a mainline break and it's shooting in the air, and now it's a customer side issue, but we have to go and respond to it regardless, so.
Matt, I just real quick question. What was their water before we gave them, before this setup? Do you recall?
I would say that the majority of them are probably on wells.
Okay.
But there could have been some ditch customers as well. As you know, the ditch goes right above there through the railbed area, so there could be some ditch.
That's what I was
domestic
thinking
community.
also, because we began to give treated water to the railhead people, is that it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, okay, thank you.
So, one thing, and now, you're pointing this out because this is what we're going to be eliminating? Okay, because it was my understanding also that when this bridge, which is way past due now, was gonna be replaced, that all this was gonna go away anyways. I mean, it would not go away, but it would be altered at that time.
Yeah, let me see if I can get
Yeah, yes and no. I think, so the project that you're talking about with the new Rawhide Bridge.
Right.
And I think this is a good slide right there, the gray dotted line. A portion of the scope of that project was going to be looping to that new, you see the proposed line, the red line. And so that would help loop and that would eliminate a lot of our pressure issues that we see in rail bed because of small water lines that are going up over Pulpit and where they hooked, they tied into, there's a line that goes over to Pulpit Rock that's been in service for quite some time. The rail bed line was put in later as a phase to serve all those people on rail bed and get rid of some of those ditch domestics as well. There was another project that extended from Pulpit Rock, you can see kind of down there in the lower southwest corner there. That extension was done 10 or 15 years ago, and that's where we're gonna tie into on the end there. But yeah, that project that you're talking about would loop that and mitigate all those pressure issues at the top of the bed.
So this was gonna get replaced one way or the other, I mean, sooner or later.
This portion, this common portion, this 240
Yes.
feet would be done by the district regardless of Daly Court. It's this extension on Daly Court that you see we're proposing that there be a cost share there. The district's willing to put forth the materials because we're gonna eliminate this problem, O&M problem with constantly going out and dealing with the meter bank on the bridge. But the property owners on Daly Court would contribute the labor cost.
How many of those parcels are currently built out?
On Daly Court?
I think there's, well,
I
it's
think
kind
they're
of.
all, I think they're all built out.
I think they're all,
Yeah.
Okay, this one's on a well, but all the rest are current customers.
So are you looking at an assessment district then, a tiny one?
We weren't, we actually, so let me just back up real quick and say, this border that you see here, this gray border around was part of an old area of benefit because one of the property owners down here did fund a water main extension, and we had an area of benefit set up so that if anyone connected within a 10-year window, we were to recover some of the cost. Well, that 10 years is expired now. So we're in good shape that way, but we weren't proposing an actual assessment or improvement district. It's kind of expensive to administer in such a small area. We were thinking that this could be covered in our O&M budget as a contribution to resolve a problem with all the meters and the labor associated with us addressing all those issues. At the same time, helping the property owners out. And they have come in and advocated several times in the past. And my understanding, you guys can speak to the readiness of and the cooperation you've received from the other residents. So it's a team effort.
Yeah, yeah, Kathy Stone Carlson, this is Melissa Oliver, we live, I live on Daly Court, last parcel on the left, she lives out on Pulp Rock, so we've been talking for years and years, we've lived there for 37 years and it's been going on. Within about 2 months of us moving in, because our pipes broke right away, because we're responsible for the meter all the way to our house. And they're kind of a mess, so everybody on Daly Court and Melissa and her brother-in-law were all in, and everybody's agreed that we can pay, we divide the cost up and pay our share to get this taken care of. If you guys are agreeable, and
And the contractor will be us. And the water is coming from which direction? I mean, I went through this whole thing twice, and I still was kind of a little confused as to exactly how it's gonna work. So, because I'm familiar with the area, I mean, I've looked at all of that.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I've inspected a couple of homes right there in that area in the past.
With this exhibit, it's kind of hard to see, but the water actually comes up and over the hill behind, where the Woods Creek and behind, what's that restaurant there?
Woods Creek Cafe.
Woods Creek Cafe,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So right about, I guess, just to the west of that, it goes up and over the hill.
Oh,
And so
really?
that's a portion of this, when we loop this, is going to give us that redundancy to where, in case we do have an issue there,
It'll
we're
work the other
looped
way.
in, yeah. And then again, it's gonna mitigate the pressure issues that we have on the top of the railway, so.
Okay,
But that's the direction it goes up and over, it comes to Pulpit Rock, and then it goes up Railbed, and then it comes back to the east towards, Rawhide Road.
And there's enough pressure from that Jamestown tank then that it's all gravity?
Yeah, so the pressure is not the issue, it's a volume issue, so when we have a certain amount of demand on the system is when the pressure reduces due to the lack of volume.
Great.
So that's gonna help with the volume issue, with the volume issue, we won't have any pressure issues, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I know it does.
And where are you gonna move the meters to?
Right in front of their homes, you can see the little,
Yeah.
those little guys, yeah. So
Okay.
each meter will be
Okay.
located right in there,
So it'd be normal.
yeah, just like normal.
That'd be nice.
Almost like
That's what we want.
We like that.
And you're gonna then eliminate that spaghetti under the Rawhide
Yes.
Bridge? Okay, well, that'll make it easier for if that bridge ever gets
Yeah,
worked on.
And we've already designed with the county, the water main through here and extending up. But, obviously, we're not gonna move forward with it until the county does the bridge. So the dashed gray line is designed and it's ready, but it isn't reflected in our 5-year capital schedule because the county can never tell us when they're really gonna do the project.
Will we ever see a day when we get rid of all this garbage that we inherited?
yes.
Little by little.
With the bridge there, instead of just doing a 1-lane split, with maybe the width of a tree in the middle, like other places. They're going over the old railroad right here, they're going through an arc site on Woods Creek, I know it because I used to be there when I was a kid. And they're just gonna create three bridges within 600 feet of each other, because you got the other one on Wigwam Road, and it just, so what is that gonna be, 3 signals, it's just really gonna get crazy.
The
Let's put another
project-
Dollar General in there while we're at it.
The project, I think, is gonna eliminate, the current Rawhide Bridge is turned into a walking bridge.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so,
good.
yeah, so there won't be any vehicles traveling across the now Rawhide Bridge, so because it's
Okay.
historic, I don't think they wanna eliminate it, so it's gonna be a walking bridge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, good,
That's the
okay.
first I heard of that, that's good.
Well, we all get the Rawhide Shuffle, it's kind of that place in high school. Everybody tries to be courteous, okay. All right, well, it sounds like a good solution. And you guys are happy?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we've had communication all the way back when it was Tuolumne County Water with Billy Moore.
Oh, yeah.
In the old days,
Yeah.
to fix this, and we made progress, and we were real close with him, and then he passed away, and then it got shifted over to TUD, and
yeah,
we've come in many times, Jim Oliver and myself and a few other neighbors, and always got close, but never got it through, and just decided to take the bull by the horns this last time and see if we can push it through. Everybody's pretty over it.
in the spirit of Billy Marr, he was a really good steward of it, yeah. And I think that rail bed stuff was under Tim McCullough, so he just wanted to get her done. All right, well, you feel good about that, we can make a recommendation on this, so
Yeah.
go ahead and share it, do a cost share type agreement, thank you. And we won't worry about any area benefit, and that's expired, and that goes away in assessment district. Okay, which it's good that we're cognizant of the beneficiary, so, but we all benefit, because where's the OT coming from when you gotta go out there?
It'll also be a fire hydrant.
So
at the very
the whole
end.
district's paying for it.
That's even better, so.
Yeah, we're excited about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we pushed for that from the get-go, which is
Okay,
awesome.
all right, so we will
You got
agree,
what you want then?
It'll go to the board for consideration and approval.
yeah, so we'll make a recommendation for the board to approve this.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds
We'll
good to
move
me.
on to the next, thank you, Eric, and Matt, and everybody, okay. And, all right, so now let's move on to the discussion regarding the Valley Vista development.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Your time.
Yeah, you bet.
Just want to hear for Valley.
Okay.
See you next week. Vacation time.
Thanks, maybe a couple days.
It's nice seeing you guys.
weekend.
All right, you guys too.
That was
Take care,
a great exit, man. It's slick.
Do you need it? No? See ya. All right, see you guys.
Bye now.
Yeah. Did Don leave on purpose?
He was ushering them out.
Oh, that's nice, yeah. That's nice. Courtesy.
Yes, right.
What I had looked at the Jamestown Sanitary District, their claim summary, and I did not realize that they pay us a total a year of $120,000 to dump in courts.
Yes.
I'm yelling because Ron's over there. So that's about $29K a quarter.
Yeah.
And while we're getting resettled here, my question is, you know, we only see the money that goes out. We don't see that money that comes in. So we assume, oh, they're getting a free ride, and they're not. 120 a year is nothing to sneeze at for partnering with us. At some point, I'd like to know how much Twain Hart contributes to us also, if they do.
We were talking about, sorry.
Barbara noticed in the claim summary, or not claim summary.
On the
Yeah,
Jamestown, claim summary.
that they pay a rate, and it's about $120,000 a year they pay for the reclamation service that we provide them.
Gotcha.
And Twain Hart pays the same, but then they also pay for all the treatment, and their rate also includes some of the collection, because we do take their wastewater and convey
Okay.
it all the way down, so their rate is even higher. And it is in the wastewater ordinance, but I'm sure Carolyn can print out for you what we collect from them.
No, I'm fine, just getting to, just so we know for future discussions, they are paying your freight.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
although we're gonna need to look at capacity fees, the board has said, and like septage fees and all that. And I think that the reclamation rate needs to be looked at someday, just because
Okay,
we weren't tracking our O&M costs on reclamation recently, and then we started, and we're seeing how much effort it is to.
well, I think this segues into, our Valley Vista discussion, making sure that everybody's paying their freight. Okay, so,
When is the next joint meeting?
We don't have one scheduled yet. We've got a fair amount of work to do internally with them to get to have them.
Oh, I didn't realize that there was gonna be,
Well, remember Judy asked at the meeting, are there alternatives? And, I mentioned, yes, there are alternatives. I'm not gonna go through them here at this
yeah,
meeting.
no, I
But
didn't want you
The
to.
staff, we were had already proposed an MOU with them. So, so that we can work, together. And I know we're off topic here, but anyway, there's not one scheduled yet.
Okay,
So
Okay.
Valley Vista. So, it's pretty clear why Valley Vista is on this agenda. We had the meeting where it was not discovered, but related to the board, the original agreement and the amendment to include sewer for Valley Vista. Both of those agreements had expired, right? The board recommended that we take these issues anyway, it was recommended by the board, we take them to the committee, both the water committee and the wastewater committee, to where do we go from here? One of the things that came about was there's a provision in the amendment to include the sewer, to set up some sort of a fee schedule that helps cover the O&M costs for a period of time until such time that there's enough homeowners out there that they can start paying their own way, right? That provision apparently only was for the wastewater collection system, not the water treatment. That part I didn't know until a couple days ago. So on I guess what we're looking for here is some direction is what to do with this on the water side. I must just talking about water, what to do with their agreement that has expired.
do we have a copy of that here to take a look at?
No.
I can find it and share it on the screen, or I can go print you. Oh,
Oh, you have it.
Can we go make some copies?
Yeah, I mean, it's repeat, I wish, yeah, thank you,
is that,
Melissa.
That's the original, not the amendment, right?
Well, you want the amendment?
I just wanna make sure Barbara had what she needed, so.
It might be, because we're gonna talk about the,
Well, this is, forgive me, but it feels like a
This
game of
is,
Clue,
this is
you
it.
know, and we might as well
That's
just
the sewer.
get the
amendment.
candlestick out here and.
So we don't need sewer.
well, we just,
All right,
we won't talk about much other than the provision.
Well, I don't want you to feel like, it's a game of Clue. I
Yeah.
want you to have all the clues.
Colonel Mustard, okay, he's Colonel Mustard, okay. Because then that way we can,
That's tasty.
oh, did you ever play Clues?
No, that's boring.
How would you know? Well, I think my concern is, we're here to steward the resources. So it's really helpful that we see the agreement and that we can make some informed, give you guys some informed direction that's representing the rest of the county. We understand that the need, to continue, but for me, that missed that one of the Union Democrats that had the grant in it for the tank on this, I was coming in blind, I didn't read that newspaper at our joint meeting. So I did not realize that the county had submitted a grant for Jamestown Sanitary District, capacity enhancements, and this tank. And did we work with them? I just wanna back up, Ron, forgive me,
No,
and
no,
get some
this is
background on
great,
this, 'cause-
because it's just all needs to come out. This is all the sort of stuff just irks me to no end that we never hear about. We always gotta find it out later on, and I can't stand that. So yes, go straight ahead, please.
Okay, well then I will, I'm gonna
Yeah.
start with the biblical.
The origin
the
story?
origin story,
Sounds good to me. Go for it. I got all day.
yeah,
We have interviews, so we don't have quite all day, but
so,
We have time.
question. When we got word of this board, TUD board got word, whatever, I think it was still under Ed Patterson, I wanna say 2019, or, just guessing, maybe December-ish. You did a presentation, and we got word that we saw a letter that Jamestown Sanitary said, we cannot serve Valley Vista.
Sewer.
Hmm?
Sewer.
Sewer. So was that so I'm assuming that the project proponents of Valley Vista went to Jamestown Sanitary asking for a will serve letter. Did they go there? How did that letter get promulgated? How did that letter get written?
so that is the missing piece. I don't know that we saw a will serve letter from JSD to Valley Vista. In all the information we provided at the board meeting to talk about Valley Vista in the first place, included a lot of information, a lot of documentation, but it did not include a will serve letter. So that's kind of the missing piece. It may have been a kind of a verbal in the beginning. But let's just to back up. There was a time, so there was a subdivision proposed there besides, before it was Valley Vista, it's called Dry Creeks. It died somehow. But understand, and you just jump in and correct me when I say something incorrect. Dry Creeks and now Valley Vista is squarely in TUD service areas for both water and sewer. It's in our service area,
And always was.
always was.
Okay.
It made more sense to now Valley Vista from a development standpoint and just common sense standpoint that it would be easier to send that sewer to Jamestown. It's closer. The smaller pump station, smaller everything.
Still pumps though.
Still pumped, but it was gonna pump down a little bit.
Slightly down.
Slightly. Anyway, it just made more sense. It makes sense to everybody. Why pump all the way up there when you can pump right there?
Mhm.
So Valley Vista approached Jamestown, said, hey, this is what we're proposing. We're gonna take water from TUD. TUD is gonna require a certain size tank. that's a water issue, but we want a sewer to Jamestown. Jamestown initially said, yeah, we can do that. That's pretty fair
Informal.
statement.
An informal,
Informal. I haven't seen the will serve, never did, and I'd like to find that if it existed.
Or development agreement.
Or
We would have a development agreement. I mean, we don't do will serve, but we do a development agreement and the board, decides, yes, we'll
yeah,
serve you.
once you have a development agreement,
Yes.
then you go, okay, we can go ahead, okay.
so,
So this has been a little bit wonky, out of order, so to speak.
but not in my, so far, not so much.
Well, you
In
think,
my chronological, I'm just at the point where Jamestown, hey, or Valley Vista, it makes more sense to get sewer to Jamestown, and everybody's on board. Initially, Jamestown agreed. Valley Vista and Jamestown went through the annexation process to annex out of TUD sewer services and into Jamestown services.
really?
That work happened at the LAFCO area, right?
Oh,
That's how far, this was, yeah, so that much had happened.
and that's documented,
It's documented, it was in that packet that I provided to the Valley Vista discussion we had.
okay,
It's in there.
okay,
So we have
I
that,
still have it,
yes. So it was in that somewhere in there, that time period where Jamestown had a different opinion, whether or not they could actually have capacity. Then they went back to Valley Vista and said, sorry, we don't have capacity.
so they wrote that letter after we began the process of annexing and annexing. Then they got buyer's remorse and wrote that letter.
That's correct.
Yes.
Well, I think it was something even more so than that. I think it was just a series of incidents that came up or issues. In the meantime, while all this was going about, their treatment plant was going into failure. And they were beginning to get the finger put on them big time by the state. So they had to get that thing replaced,
That was a water quality issue.
the
Yeah.
wastewater.
Quality.
Yes, yes.
So anyway, they're all,
Nothing today.
Nothing was done today.
Our
Thank you.
copier went out all of a sudden too, so I was running around. There's your.
So I don't recall,
well, what I was gonna say is that the grant that they got only allowed them to build a treatment plant that was for the amount of customers that they had at the time, or the amount available for their customers at that time. Valley Vista put them over that limit. And so therefore, somewhere right around in that time is when they had gotten the grant, were building the plant, and then they realized, oh, crap, we can't take on Valley Vista because that'll be more than our customer base is allowed.
so I wanna be careful, a little bit careful. I don't wanna get into talking about JSD,
Okay, I don't either.
but I have reason to disagree with that comment.
Okay,
So, let's just leave that there, that's for us in Jamestown to work out over time. But you're right, I don't know what came first, car or horse here, but eventually Jamestown was building a new treatment plant. They built a new treatment plant with no additional capacity,
right.
and they felt like this new Valley Vista was gonna put them over their capacity. So therefore, they went back to Valley Vista and said, sorry, this wasted all your time and effort, we can't no longer serve you. Now Ed's here, the previous general manager, and the developer came to Ed and proposed what he proposed, and we all know the history. We accepted to take the sewer with a small provision in there that we develop some sort of a fee that covers the cost of operating and maintaining the collection system until they have enough customer base in there to self-fund it.
So that changes, we're talking sewer, that changes the direction that the sewer water goes.
That's correct.
This whole thing, so then that we are incurring extra costs to pump it in a different direction. Okay, because they can't treat that way, they can't treat it. Jamestown cannot treat it.
That's
Okay,
what they're saying.
okay, all right. So then that's kind of where in your presentation, it was we gotta make this work, essentially, it's in our service area.
Well, I mean, I didn't want to make it seem like that was the only option, but I
Yeah.
mean, it was in our service area. We were already providing them the board had already agreed to provide them water. So we have a development that, you know,
Mhm.
so, but that's why that clause in the amendment related to wastewater only was kind of a concession from the developer is, okay, if TUD is gonna extend sewer service to us when they don't really want to, the district can come up with a fee, and it's undetermined yet. So I think that will be the subject of like the wastewater committee, and then the board will
Okay.
decide what we want that fee to be and for how long to charge the developer, and until how many houses are physically built and occupied there, and then that fee would go away and it would fall back on just the rates that each customer pays.
Okay,
So,
the fee would be paid by the developer, is that what you're understanding, Ron?
yeah, it would, yeah,
Okay.
but I've got a lot to say on the wastewater, but this is
Yes.
a water committee, so I won't.
Oh,
I wanted to, Barbara brought up a concern that she had when she read this article that came out in December. There was a lot of things that happened towards the very end of the year. And one of those things was this out of the blue article with the supervisor Brandon, in a picture with Jamestown Sanitary District staff and some board members celebrating this REAP grant that they received. The article, after that, the article was incorrect, the rest of the article. It stated that Jamestown not only got a grant to improve their capacity issues, but they also got a grant to build a treated water storage tank that was gonna feed the Valley Vista system. Now, obviously, Jamestown's not in the water
mhm.
business, TUD is, that part of the REAP grant was given to TUD to cover our cost of upsizing the tank from some number to another number. So, it was an article that was written incorrectly.
Okay, so thank you, and let's go back to Ron, our agenda item just says discussion regarding the Valley Vista development. In my world, this committee would give a recommendation if we got to that point on water. But it does not mean we can't discuss the whole ball of wax, because they do interplay and they help me understand why I'm learning about things as we go along, both on the water and the sewer side. So if that's okay with you, Ron, we just,
It's fine,
you know-
whatever works, I'm just saying,
okay,
I have a lot to say on both the water part
yeah,
and the wastewater part, so I'm just trying to keep in my lane here and not be the bad boy of being off agenda, so you're the boss here, you're the chairman, so you
Okay.
go for it, whatever works.
okay, well, we're not in violation of a Brown Act, because there's only two of us here. And we're gathering information if we get to a point where we can make whatever kind of recommendation for water. So I think everything can be on the table. It definitely helps me understand this, because it's been convoluted. And when some stuff is informal, like, hey, at Lower St. Martin, hey, it just happens, it's a small community, and you just kind of get these informal sense that suddenly it's formal consultation. So now I understand the letter and where it sort of came in the process. And then I also understand that you guys collaborated or corroborated Jamestown's numbers in terms of projection of, okay, how many connections do we have left? Let's give ourselves some margin of error and a cushion. And they didn't, so that they had a real threshold. And rather than going, hey, we can't, now they were working with our guys to determine, and you guys both, what I understand, kind of came to the same conclusion of how many connections they really could add on, and like within 100 or something.
So, can I throw something on here?
Yeah.
Just to clarify a little bit? They can handle Valley Vista. they can't handle it during the winter because of all the I and everything else. That's where they're in the danger zone from everything that I've learned.
Oh, that's helpful, yeah. Okay.
Correct?
I think that that's correct, but it pertains to phase one. Like they can handle Valley Vista phase one. The winter is the problem, but they don't appear to have enough capacity with the information that's been given to us to handle all phases of Valley Vista.
There's 4 phases, I think.
Three.
3 phases. The first phase is 87 ESFR.
Yeah, and I it fluctuates around 80 and 90 or something. Yeah.
So let's just use a high number, 90 ESFR. Don't we know that JSD has enough capacity for 130
That's what we
to
do.
130 to 160?
Mhm.
So Valley Vista phase 1 is 90.
And it's 300 and something total, isn't it?
280.
280.
Yes.
So it's close, but
Yeah,
close
to
like hand grenades and
Yeah.
horseshoes.
189 plus 49, 230. I'm sorry.
230 total, sorry. Total build out, 230.
So when in meeting with the sewer committee, are you guys gonna look at, dealing with that, or,
I would hope so, but I'm not chairman. Vote right, yes.
okay, all right, and just, in my mind, I think of Eddie West, like, well, why don't we just make out a deal with them, they can dump it, develop that, and we still own that property, don't we?
We do.
And I don't wanna stray too off in that, but, that's just my thinking, it's like, well, here, that might be of interest or discussion, so. Okay, I just keep that in mind, even though both guys are running it. Okay, okay, so if I'm following right now, and we're focusing on water, did we work with the county to get the REAP grant for the tank? Did they?
We have been working with the county for a year and a half, 2 years.
Over 2.
Over 2. My entire time as a general manager, even interim general manager. And more specifically, working with Quincy Daly. She's the one who's heading this thing up, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
So, yes, in fact, we have a meeting with Quincy next week,
Mhm.
Monday, I think it is. We have a meeting with Quincy to talk about a couple of things, but one of those is the REAP grant, the status of the REAP grant.
so the REAP grant will help us. I read online that it didn't say fire flow, it said for development, that this increased tank will be for development. So that means the water is committed to domestic, it's not just fire flow. It will be committed as treated water for a customer base. So this grant is for getting a bigger tank.
Yeah, like I said, in my opinion only, you guys have your own opinion, please. I think the article was flawed almost from the beginning to the end, right? So whatever they said about who's owning the tank, who's supplying the water, what the volume of water is for, I just think it's incorrect. It's not accurate enough. Eric Johnson has the exact information you need to know what that tank was. So initially Valley Vista comes in and says, hey, we want to put in 300 ESF, whatever, 300 units, whatever the number is. Engineering goes through this calculation, says, okay, would you need this volume of water?
230,000.
230,000 gallons to serve that, minimum, you need that. Now, TUD has the need maybe to upsize it. We would like to upsize it so we can have redundancy. The new tank is going to be approximately in the same altitude, elevation-wise, as the newer Jamestown tank, right? The Jamestown tank feeds all of that, just one direction, it's a one tank area, not ideal. If we had a redundant tank across the way where we can feed this way, that's good, that's good practice. The new Jamestown tank is gonna be needing some sort of rehab in about 15 years from now, right? We're gonna need to take that tank down and rehab it so it lasts a lot longer. If we have a property-sized tank in the Valley Vista area, then it takes that project and makes it much easier. So we have a desire to upsize the tank from 232 to 500,000. We would pay that cost to upsize it, not Valley Vista.
Yeah.
Later, the county, Quincy comes and says, hey, we've got this REAP grant opportunity. What does REAP stand for? Resiliency and,
Yeah, let me.
it's terrible, it's 4 fucking letters, I can't remember it, but building resilient, anyway, it's not brick. Anyway,
Uh-huh,
they come, does TV have any for this money? All in the spirit, I'm being completely honest with you, all in the spirit of development, right? By now, they've sensed that all this new development's gonna happen in the Jamestown area, right? So, hey, TUD, we have this money available.
mm-hmm,
In the spirit of this grant, it should help development. Do you have a need? Well, of course we do. We have our share of this cost for the Valley Vista, the newer sized 500,000 gallon Valley Vista tank. We could use that REAP grant for that. And we've been assured we're gonna have that money anytime. It just haven't, like a lot of our grants, we haven't seen the money yet.
so I'm seeing here, this is not the article, this is, from the state. It can stand for either Regional Early Action Planning,
That's what it
REAP
is.
2.0, or Rural Energy for America Program.
No, it's the regional.
It's the regional, okay,
Thank you.
and thank you, and it says 3.8 million, Trumbull County, Jamestown Sanitary, okay, wastewater treatment, and the construction of Valley Vista storage tank, which will support future housing developments in several of the county's large and undeveloped parcels. Now, that's what it says this money's for. Okay, Ron.
So I want us to go back to the original sales pitch that the board was given to okay that, when we first talked about supplying water to that, development down there. And take the REAP grant, let's just set it over here to the side for a moment, because that wasn't even on the horizon at the moment, back then. The board was sold in no uncertain terms that, we just need to jump on enlarging this tank because of just what you explained about the Jamestown tank. We're gonna have to rehabilitate it at some point in time. Having redundancy only makes sense. So, of course, all of us are, yeah, let's go for it. Sounds good. We're gonna pay our share, TUD's gonna pay our share, and the developer's gonna pay his share. Now, let's take the REAP grant, roll it over here. If it's for development, that water's not there for redundancy. It's for development. Hello?
Well, I want to clarify a couple things there, because it isn't for development, but we're playing the grant game. And this tank is needed regardless of if any development were to occur in Jamestown. But when the county approached us with this grant opportunity that's for development, we said, fine, because there is no obligation to reserve that water for development. There isn't. There's nothing that
If
says.
you okay it will be for development. Let me tell you, that's why we
Well,
got involved in it.
The board still has to approve every development that comes through. So it isn't for development, but we're playing the grant game so that we can help our ratepayers, because the board adopted a capital improvement plan that included the money to upsize the tank. So we were looking for a grant to offset costs that our ratepayers would have been paying anyway.
I get it. I mean, let me see if I can be as clear as I possibly can be. I have nothing whatsoever against the Valley Vista development. In fact, it's not our job to okay or not okay development whatsoever. Our job is about providing water. And if there's a development and we have the water, then we're more or less obligated to provide that water. The Valley Vista, development, in my opinion, is almost a poster. I don't know how it's looks on the map and how they're gonna grade it and do this and do that. But as far as the way everybody wants things to be infill, it is a poster child for infill development. You can't ask for anything better than that. It's right in between everything. You're not having sprawl. So with that being said, let's be honest, for the first time in our lives, if we take that grant, that tank is no longer a backup for the tank, for the other Jamestown tank. Just forget about that. It's for development. It will get allocated immediately for development down there in Jamestown. So, no, I'm telling you, the county would not have gotten involved in trying to find a grant to get that done if it wasn't for development, period. I mean, wherever that went, I can't find it now. I know I got it here. Disappeared. Yeah, that's what this is all about. That's what this whole thing is all about. So just plan on us having to build another tank for redundancy, because that tank is going to be used for development, period. Mark my words. That's why the county got involved in it. And it's fine with me. I mean, I'm not against development. I'm just saying reality.
Let's just take the two potential routes that this could have gone. One route is the board adopted this development agreement that had the district upsizing the tank from 230 to 500, and the district funding its share of that upsize.
Right.
And that for redundancy.
There you go.
But redundancy and development aren't exclusive. I mean, you can have redundancy and have development.
How?
Well, if the
The
tank,
water's flowing out of the tank, going to the development, and the level of the tank comes down to here, and this tank over here needs to be down to there in order to rehab it, I think we got a freaking problem.
so when new development occurs, the district has a couple options. It has to evaluate if it has the infrastructure to serve. If that's the case, they pay a capacity fee. If we don't, they have to build it. It's that simple. So if we have a Valley Vista tank and we have a Jamestown tank, once every 20 years, we're gonna have to recoat one of those tanks. How are we gonna do that if we don't have a redundant tank? So if we build a redundant tank at Jamestown, we're not gonna leave it empty. It's gonna be full. We left a pad for that, or we can have it built partially funded by a developer and by a grant on another site at the same elevation. So the district's gonna have a pretty extensive expense regardless. Either we build redundancy with our own funds or we build redundancy with someone else's funds. The 270,000 gallons that we're upsizing, the question is, does the grant say, and does the district have to sign, that this volume is reserved in perpetuity for some unknown development, and the district cannot collect capacity fees for that? That's the question. And I'm pretty sure, I'll give you 99% that it does not do that. If it did that, we wouldn't agree to that, because
We couldn't agree to that.
we couldn't do that. And the board will have the ability to execute and review that subrecipient agreement for the grant before it goes forward anyway. Just because it's been awarded to us, it has to go to the board for execution.
That's a great time to.
There's right there is where unbeknownst to you guys, where there is subliminal pressure put on the board because we've come down the road, committed staff time, everything's been a go, and then boom, when you need the board to do this, we come out and do it, and it doesn't sit well. It just doesn't sit well because it puts pressure on us. Now we've got the whole district, now we feel we'll hear this spiel, couldn't sleep at night unless we do this. Well, that's pressure on us to go in that direction. Or if you have a board member that goes, it would be irresponsible if we didn't do this. It makes, we're trying to, yes, you called it a grant game.
It is.
I just don't want us to be committed and then pressure on the board to, all right, this is the last gate that it's gotta go through, then boom, and then it's in. And it just doesn't, we're just looking at the future, how this just incrementally, it's just feels like, it just doesn't feel clean.
It isn't clean. We can solve this very, very simply. Take the word redundancy and scratch it out. When that word is gone, we don't have a problem. We now know that overage in that tank is for development, period. That's what it's gonna be. It'll come at us at the board, item by item. Oh, well, this developer needs to hook up here, and it's gonna come out of that tank. Oh, and you guys need to okay it. Oh, okay, done. Redundancy? No. Can't hear it. It doesn't exist.
Because,
Well, we would be proposing this tank be upsized if there was never any, like I said before, if there was never any development. For operational reasons, we need to have a redundant tank in that system. So either the board can reject the grant and we'll pay our own dollars so that we know that it's not for development. And then when new development comes, you charge a capacity fee or you make the development build another tank, a third tank.
We're gonna have to anyways.
I don't know if that's a foregone conclusion. I mean, there's proposed developments, but look how long Valley Vista's taken. How long have we been talking about Valley Vista? There might not be any development in Jamestown for significant development for a long time.
I get
I
it.
mean, the wastewater treatment plant doesn't have any capacity, so I don't know how they're gonna build any capacity.
I'm all for us getting that REAP grant for the enlargement of the tank and everything else. I'm just saying, scratch out redundancy. I don't wanna hear it again because that's not what that extended portion of that tank's gonna be for. It is not. I know how it's gonna come down in the future. Just, let's go with the grant, let's get the bigger tank. And, we'll take on each individual thing that comes across the table as far as development. And if the tank can be used for redundancy at some point in time in the future, yay, boy, we lucked out on that one. But if it doesn't, then we're already with the understanding that we're gonna have to build another tank for redundancy, period. Don't try and pull the wool over our eyes. That makes me so
Who are you
mad.
asking? Do you think I'm pulling wool over your eyes or trying to?
If somebody
Well, when you
says
say
that that's gonna be redundant, then
It
yes.
is wrong. It just
It is not.
Yes, it
It
is.
is not.
Yes, it is.
Well, I don't care.
Okay, well, it is.
Okay, we're here, so I like your other idea though, which is let's not have the REAP grant. Let's get our own grant for our own tank and let the developer deal with their tank. And we have our tank secured as a priority, redundancy then is a priority. It feels actually cleaner to me.
Could you explain that again? Like what do you
Oh, well,
mean by
okay, so maybe I misunderstood what you had said.
No,
When you
may
said,
not. I just
you
wanna
said,
understand.
oh, well, the other way we could do it is we build our own tank for redundancy. I think that's what you said.
Well, I said reject the grant.
Yeah, we
yeah.
reject the grant. We build our own because we need redundancy.
Yep.
And we're not being pressured by anything else here. It makes sense, blah, 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 we need one right there to regulate. And then when this developer needs to build something, they can do it and we'll charge them. I think that's what I heard you say.
Yes, in essence, another scenario, kind of what you're describing, Barbara, is we reject the grant. We tell the developer, you build your 230,000 gallon tank on your site, and we'll build our own redundant tank next to the Jamestown tank. We have an area there for that. The problem with that, I mean, it would function okay, and it has some benefits because we could time when we build that second tank. But then we'd have 3 tanks. I mean, we want to be efficient and intelligent about how we build our infrastructure, and we don't want to have more tanks just to have more tanks. And getting a grant to build a redundant tank, it's not gonna happen. It's just so difficult to get a grant now, even for consolidation. So that we could get a loan from the state possibly to build a redundant tank. But what we're presenting the board is the option to honestly get a redundant tank at the same elevation. The developer went through a great effort to put that tank in the very corner of their parcel because it's at the same exact, and surveyed it in the same exact elevation as the Jamestown tank. And it's gonna be the same height. We have an option to have two tanks that serve the same zone, so we can take one out and maintain the other one and have it completely funded, almost completely funded externally. If I'm the ratepayer, that's what I want. Whether or not it's gonna serve development or not, the district is not obligated to serve new development until it goes through the board in a development agreement process. And we evaluate what the impacts are to our infrastructure. The exception to that is one house or two houses where they're already adjacent to a main, they come in and they pay their fees and connect. But like a full-fledged development, the board would have to consider that on a case by case as it comes through.
Isn't there plans for Valley Vista to be full build out? I mean, much more than they show in those little bank of prefabs that they currently have right there?
Well, this is only for phase one. So you folks have only approved phase one service to their agreement, to their development. So Ron's gonna have to come back for phase two and phase three. He hasn't talked about when that would be, but
Well, that does not square with redundancy, but, if it's, I mean, don't we have in our policies that, domestic trumps, like add water, if you only have so much water in a drought, and this water is then committed, this whole tank is committed, how, and we need it to make an adjustment, and we already have people that are hooked up to this water, how do we back off and use it for what we really need it for?
so we would do I'm trying to answer your question, Barbara, and I'm sorry if I'm failing, but the tank maintenance, what we need is we need enough volume in one tank that during a period of low demand, winter time, it could be drained, the other tank could be drained, and we could continue to provide domestic and fire protection service to the community of Jamestown for a period of about a month and a half. That would be enough time for a contractor to get inside the empty tank and recoat it. That's what we need. We just need that ability. And the size of the 500,000 gallon tank, we think would give us enough capacity to serve all of our existing customers, including phase one Valley Vista, including all of Valley Vista, to do maintenance on the Jamestown tank that was built about 6 years ago.
So, yeah, so what if the Jamestown R tank fails? Can we draw on the Valley Vista tank to serve all the Jamestown customers, and the reverse is true?
Correct.
So
Exactly.
that's another aspect of redundancy.
That is, in my definition, what you just said is exactly the redundancy. That is the definition for me on the treated water side.
Okay,
But what's not being added in there is the additional development that they're counting on, that this new tank is going to allow them to build. Because that's a problem down there. They don't have enough water and they don't have the sewer. That's what's holding them up. That's why the county's behind this. That's why all that shenanigans that LAFCO went on, everything. That is why. So that's why I'm adamant about this, is I don't want to hear redundancy, because there is no there may be redundancy in the beginning, but in a year or two, when all these pent up demand for these developments to go in down there all start being forced across the table at us, there ain't no redundancy. We're tapped out water-wise. At that point, we need another tank.
I agree with you. I don't know when that point would be. We could probably figure out, another 300 homes, and then we would need another tank. But that's the subject of a development agreement for some future development.
But
It
who's
comes to
going
the
to
board.
bring that reality in front of the board at that time? Well, I mean, what we're being sold here right now is that we've got redundancy. Oh boy, we're all set. We're really looking ahead. We're really doing things right. But in reality, all we're doing is kicking the can down the road again. This is gonna come back to bite us. I can see it coming.
What would you propose, Ramon? I'm trying to understand. Would you propose more, a larger tank so that we don't end up having, so we can have redundancy in
What
all
I'm
scenarios?
proposing is very simple. Don't say redundancy, because there is no redundancy except at the very beginning. Just scratch that off. We are going to take on this grant and allow the tank to be built, which we will take over. And we're just gonna assume right from the beginning that that is going to take care of not only Valley Vista, but also this new development that they're frothing at the mouth in order to get building. And we'll worry about the redundancy down the road, I guess. I mean, that's the reality of the situation as far as I'm concerned.
So because, I mean, I totally see your point, Ron, because we've been on that receiving end from things previously that, and then it just seems, it's a pattern. So let's just call it what it is. I mean, as long as we may get a benefit out of this in the near future, but that's short, that's not for the long future. So let's just recognize that up front. The developer will benefit from this water. It will be committed at some point to their whole thing. So how do we make sure that our current ratepayers are not subsidizing the developer's benefit? And let's be real, we can look for how TUD benefits it to justify our portion of this, but in reality, it is being promulgated by the county.
Right.
Okay, so I understand that.
And the tank that we're looking for redundancy for is but 6 years old. It's gonna be, I don't know, you guys say 15 years, but I bet it goes longer than that before it gets recoded and all that. And it's top of the line. I think it was, if I remember correctly, it's welded, it has the ventilation, it has outside beams, it has everything. It's gonna be longer than 15 years.
It's our job to think 15, 20 or plus
Right,
years out.
right.
That's,
We just built
But
that thing.
I'm not
we did it
complaining
with
about
grant
it.
money. by the way.
I'm not complaining about it, I'm thinking that's great, I'm saying, what my point is that it's not gonna need to get rehabbed for a long time. So the redundancy part is a joke, because by that time, when we need the redundancy, it'll already be, the water will already be taken up by development, period. So we need another tank. So let's just plan on it, let's go with it, let's get the tank put in with the grant money. And like I said, I'm not against development, I just want it to be truthful, what's being presented to the board, that's all.
I've been nothing but truthful, honestly.
Well, I'll tell you
with
what,
this subject.
I've heard a lot of stuff, we're not talking about wastewater, but I heard that most of the staff was going, no, don't agree to that,
On the water?
waste.
Okay.
We're
water.
talking about, I said, I don't wanna get off the subject, but I'm just saying that.
I like this as long as it's not charity. Let's call it, let's just take it face value.
That's all I'm saying.
And then yes, we may or may not benefit from redundancy. We can't predict how fast this project will or won't go forward, that's not our bailiwick. But if we just say, we're being good soldiers here, we understand, and this has a potential to benefit us, but we're not going in it with that benefit. We're just going in it basically to help. And as long as we're not paying or subsidizing the developer in any way, shape, or form, and Eric, you've been very good about making sure that you disclose everything to the board in that way.
The grant only pays for our portion. It does not subsidize. the
Exactly. No, I get it. I mean,
So,
I've read this thing inside and out 10 times. I mean, and I've been watching it. One move right after the other, all the way along the line. I get it. I understand this thing.
so we'll put the redundancy thing in we may or may not, so it,
Right.
yeah, okay.
So, I guess, can I ask a
Yeah.
couple questions? Okay. I'd like to know exactly, I wanna repeat that word, exactly what the conditions and requirements of that grant are to TUD.
I think it will have the subrecipient agreement draft to us either this week or early next week.
Cause I think that fits right in hand with what we've already been talking about.
Absolutely.
I wanna know what that grant is gonna be tying our hands to, so that we know.
Totally agree.
Okay,
And if it says this district, TUD, must allocate 270,000 gallons of water in perpetuity for new development, and cannot collect capacity fees on that development, that is a game changer.
Yeah.
okay,
Mhm.
okay, well, just as long as
Yeah,
we're all.
Then that tank would be for new development only.
Okay, I just wanna make sure
Totally.
we're all
Well,
on the same.
we may wanna clarify that in there anyway.
Well, I'm getting to
Yeah,
that.
but once we get the draft subrecipient agreement, you can look at the fine print and make a decision for yourself.
And then my next question is, all of this water infrastructure that is being put in by the developer, I'm talking Valley Vista now, and I'm talking the tank. All of this is going to get turned over to TUD, upon its completion and upon, upon completion and so on. I don't know what the exact turnover point is, but we own it, and then we have to take care of it forever. What is TUD's exact ownership and control of that tank? Mostly the control.
Full.
Well, I think it needs to be made, this rag right here needs to be rejected, thrown out, in my opinion. And this needs to be completely redone by staff and by Barton, not by an idiot called Pattison. I would like to start a fire with that.
Well, we do, I think, Don, you tell me to stop, but I think we do need to amend this, Ron, and there's a lot of issues you bring up, and there's a lot of issues we're aware with how this was written. But one thing I want to touch on that is important to you, I think, and you said it, is that we have, I'm gonna say the R word, I know you don't want me to, but let me just say it and get it out of here.
Go ahead.
You mentioned we have a new Jamestown tank, 6 years old, top of the line, it's great, it's gonna last a long time, maybe last more than an additional 15 years before we need to recoat it.
Right.
You may be right. So technically, you don't need a second tank until you're 20, whatever, right? 20 years from now. So it's like, oh man, why do we have this new tank when we really don't need it for 20 years?
Right.
Totally get that. So one of the amendments to this agreement that we've worked out with the county is that we want to push construction of that tank as far out as possible. And we would like
The
to,
new tank you're
the
talking
new
about?
tank, because why do we want to take on a new tank we won't need for 20 years?
Exactly.
So, the county fire has agreed that phase one of this development will not need the tank. And we've confirmed that with your staff and modeling, so we're good. The only deadline we'd be up against then, because the developer doesn't want to build a tank right away either, nobody does, is the grant. So if we accept the grant, then we would time the construction of the tank to finish right at the end of the term of the grant, which is probably 3 years developer, so we're not sure, we'll see.
Yeah.
But, so that's another amendment in here that kind of speaks to your point is, why do we need this now? We're gonna push it out as far as we possibly can, even if we get an extension on the ground and push it even farther out, we would do that as well.
Okay,
Because we can already serve them,
Yes, phase one,
phase
Phase
one.
yeah, as soon as they go to phase two, they need that.
Well,
okay.
that makes sense,
Well,
then,
yeah, I
to
mean,
delay that.
this is what we're doing, we're talking sense here instead of just glossing it over and moving forward at full head steam, and I mean.
So they
oh,
can, they
this
they
makes
can be
me so
made whole,
upset.
they can be made whole for phase one,
Right, okay,
Okay.
so,
and we're not holding it up.
Furthermore, the developer knows he has to pay capacity fees for every parcel he builds on in phase one, because he did for the storage, because you either build the storage or you pay us. So since you're not building it, you're paying us.
okay, well, that was one of the other things
That's
I wanted to
cleaner.
ask, so that's good, all right. Then I think in the new contract that's gonna get written is, what is the water that's going into that tank actually allocated to exactly? Exactly. Not some vague, oh boy, we built a tank, it's full of water, but nobody knows what all the straws are that are coming out of it. We need to know what it's allocated to exactly.
Maybe have that revisited in subsequent phases, that whole contract revisited.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm considering as if all phases are gonna be built.
Okay,
That's the way, I
Narrow
think
it
the
down.
I think the contract should be for the entire, for all phases, because that's where we're gonna end up sooner or later.
maybe be a good idea to review it during a committee also, be prepared to talk about the draft agreement in committee.
And then I guess my final question is, if something were to go wrong with the, Jamestown tank now, who knows? I don't, that thing's foolproof, I don't know how anything could go wrong with it, but, yeah. How is the new tank at Valley Vista gonna be supplied water? What is the main line that's gonna go there? How is that gonna work? Because right now we have a main line that goes directly to the Jamestown tank, correct?
Yeah.
How is that Jamestown tank or the Valley Vista tank gonna get served with water?
Do you wanna, or do you want me to?
Well, I don't know this all the way through, but I believe it's coming down through Mill Villa, through, can't remember the name, the little subdivision there.
McKibben.
McKibben and all that,
Yeah,
but then it could also be fed from Jamestown Tank,
yeah,
both directions.
I guess that's where I was going, is the size of the main large enough to be able to take care of that tank? If the main Jamestown tank is knocked out for some reason, is the main line water flow more than adequate to supply the tank at Millville and any proposed development coming up, as well as the fire flow and everything else? Or are we relying on spaghetti lines, in order to get down there to it?
So I believe it's got a 10-inch feeding.
so we do have 10-inch, and then it goes through Millvilla, and then the developer extended an 8-inch main to the project site that would then go up to the tank. And we believe we can get about 650 gallons a minute consistently to the Millvilla tank. The answer to your question is I don't totally know when we would reach the limit of that, but if we needed to do a rehab, or Jamestown tank failed, let's just say it failed, even though we don't think, we might struggle a little bit, but it also depends on the time of the year. If it was in the winter, we might be fine. If it was in the summer and the casino or the bingo parlor, chicken ranch was pulling, we might run into.
Well,
That's why I
even
brought
right
it
now,
up.
we don't like to see more than 500 leaving Jamestown Tank. I'm not gonna say we struggle feeding it, but it starts to do some funny things
Yeah.
in the line above it in the PRV stations.
Well, I guess that's
So-
why I brought it up. I want that to be looked
The
at.
other piece of this too is we would be able to take, if this scenario happened, Jamestown tank goes away and we're strictly on this tank, we do have a tie-in below the existing Jamestown tank that we can feed the system through a PRV, which we did when we built the new Jamestown tank. So it will take some of the pressure off of that.
And that comes from Granley?
That comes from
Yeah.
Greenland.
Okay.
Which feeds the whole system.
That's a good call.
When we rebuilt Jamestown, did we increase its capacity?
I believe so.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, okay,
a lot.
so that,
750,000 to
okay,
1.5.
that can
Doubles.
carry some load, okay.
Yeah, what Eric's talking about.
I
is
just
great.
wanted that to be looked at because I'm tired of putting in the nice brand new sparkling castle on the hill and it's got a thread leading to it, you know, we gotta look out in front and think all these things out. And I'm not trying to do you guys' job, I know you guys work hard at this and all that, but man, you gotta sit in our seat and listen to all the bullshit we've been fed over the years.
No.
I can't stand it. No, I don't blame you. I'm looking for the outdoor too. That's it for me.
Well, I appreciate this honest discussion, but I would also recommend that we look at that, once you get it, that agreement.
Okay.
And that we review it, we get a copy ahead of time, so we can come here prepared to take a look at the language. And,
Oh, I lied. I had one other.
Okay,
okay,
I ran out of ink.
I'm sorry.
Here you go.
No, I'm just kidding. Don't throw anything at me.
We are gonna write up a brand new contract and it'll be staff with Barton that's gonna put it together.
okay.
And this other rag is just gonna go
It's
away?
expired.
Okay.
Good new one.
Okay,
Can I ask a question before you,
no.
Before you
go ahead,
depart.
Go ahead.
how do we put an expiration on the new agreement? You call it a contract, but the new agreement, get rid of the old agreement, we have a new agreement. What should we do as far as an expiration
Oh,
date?
good question, good question.
2 years or tie it to the county, something or other,
Yeah.
like we do now? What would you recommend?
Well, normally I would say tied to the county, but the county actually recorded their subdivision map and then required the developer to get a bond. So if the developer doesn't finish the work, the county has a $5 million bond to finish, which is amazing to me, because I can't imagine the county administering a development program out there. But, so I think it's a good question, maybe Jesse could help us with that.
Mm-hmm,
But that's a great question.
mm-hmm,
Okay, so my last thing was, and it's almost too late now. No, it's not, because you've got 2 phases you have to go. The first phase is pretty much finished in the ground.
Infrastructure?
Yeah. But I want something ironclad in the new agreement about the inspection and requirements of that infrastructure that goes in the ground, that staff has full control over and knows what's going in there.
Well, I think it's in the old contract
It
about
is,
with
but
our
it
water
is.
rules and regs and
But-
inspection and.
But it's not our inspector, and that's been giving me heartburn. I mean, somebody's paying, I guess the developer's paying for an inspector. How good is that inspector? I don't have any faith in him at all. I want our own inspector to be doing it.
Well, that's,
I mean, who's to say that somebody isn't out there, hey Joe, turn your head. No, I'm serious.
No, it's legitimate,
And we inherit this garbage.
mm-hmm.
I would rather have our inspector inspect all work.
Right.
It's closer, better control and accountability. The only reason we hired ICM to do this, and ICM's been good, is
do you know?
because, well, we've gone back and I've had Kevin look at their work. And now, we aren't there all the time, obviously, but the reason we didn't put Kevin, our inspector, on this job was because then we would have had to have hired someone to do the other work.
I
And so it was just kind of and it was easier to hire ICM tell them to camp out there and the developer will pay all their costs. Then you
Right.
have him go to like 3 or 4 different jobs.
No, I totally get the logic and everything else, I'm just saying that it just seems when the responsibility escapes TUD's doors and goes out to a subcontractor or to some, things just don't work the way they would if our crews and our people did it. You guys have a lot of, I mean, you care about what you do, and the crews care about what they do. When you get paid, it's like, what's the shortcut?
I think we could write that in, because it just, for initial setup, we have our crews come in and do the inspection.
Yeah, and by the time this moves forward, we may see that our workload on other projects is low enough that we can dedicate Kevin to that job. And then triage with operations, they've already helped us out on other projects to cover inspection of the smaller.
Yeah, because this is like you said, the timing, this is when the infrastructure is going in.
Yep.
That we need to make sure it's done to our specs, so it won't come back and bite us
Mhm.
and another board. And, yeah,
Maybe Eric, we can also just double look at the warranty work.
Okay.
Why don't we just make sure that that squares up with some of the stuff we've experienced the last 7 or 8 years as far as warranty work goes.
So I'm gonna end with this. I know that I was very pointed in a lot of things that I said, but I want staff to know that I've got all the, I really know that you guys are doing the very best that you possibly can. But I wanna make sure, this is one of those things that has gone on for years, because I've been watching it. I've been watching a ton of these things work. This is why TUD got all of the garbage that we're trying to clean up that came from the county. This is what the county's done for years. They just rubber stamp it. The developer's gonna take care of it. Well, the developer, I mean, the least amount of money in order to get that thing up and get that pile, and every developer that in the past has built all this garbage that's out here that we've been trying to take care, they don't even live here anymore. They're in other states. We're the ones left to do it, so that's why I'm so adamant.
Well, we appreciate you looking out for us and for future operations staff that are gonna be here, 15, 20 years when this stuff's really gonna start showing its wares. And so,
Right.
It should last 50, 60, 70 years, not 20.
Right.
So that's why your point is, it's important to us who've been out there fighting these things, the techites and all that. So we get it, but we also appreciate you making darn sure we get it.
all right, well, good discussion, and we look forward to getting that draft from the county. And it looks like it'll be us again, because we're dealing with Valley Vista, so we can switch out appropriately with Jeff, so. So no, the only recommendation is we're just gonna be real about the word redundancy, at least that's the board direction, is let's, even though we can stretch the benefit, let's just not say that this is a for sure benefit. So that we don't have anything formal on that, except that let's just move away from the meaning of the word.
Yeah.
We're going ahead, we're gonna delay it as long as we can.
Yeah.
They can be made whole. We just being really clear that we may or may not benefit from this big thing.
So like I say, we have 2 or 3 at least action items to take to a future committee.
Okay,
That's
good,
about the only recommendation there is, right? Take care of
yes,
some of these and bring it to another committee.
yes,
And the big thing is, we're waiting on whatever that document is.
The subgroup, the
The
sub,
subrecipient agreement.
Yeah.
mhm,
Which is just a fancy way of saying the county gets the money and then the county has an agreement with us to give us the money.
yeah. And so I'll just say it's been my understanding, again, this is secondhand information, but from what I understand with JSD, I'm just gonna flip there for a minute, they have specific needs and they're not quite sure, from my understanding, if this grant will meet those needs that they have. So the grant, I get it, you gotta stretch your projects to get the money, but can come back and bite us.
It can, yeah, that subrecipient agreement has some real precise terms and conditions that restrict your board from deciding how this district will serve. Then, yeah, you have a real tough decision to make. My guess is that they just aren't that smart. I just don't think that they're gonna write that in there, but I might be wrong, and then we'll find out, so.
Well, I think it's just all of us doing our due diligence,
Okay, well, I
staying
think
aware.
that concludes our meeting. And our meeting is adjourned at 9, no, not yet, not 9:20.